Hey, what is going on, guys? It's your boy Az. We are back here. We are going to be going through a preparation guide here for the QuickSilver Symbiote Fear Tower. That's going to be going live here on the Friday. So, of course, as well, I want to get this out to you guys earlier so you guys have some time to pre-plan. And, of course, as well, maybe perhaps you guys already had a chance to take a look through the sections here. And, again, just to kind of recap it all, sections 1 to 10 and 11 to 20 are pretty much the same. They're going to be launching 10 floors per week. So the first 4 sections basically have no restrictions regardless of difficulty. And then once we get into 5, 6, and 7, we have war activated mods. And 5 and 6 basically are the non-mythic cosmics. And then non-mythic cosmic villains will be in floor 7. Floors 8 will be specifically mutant with cosmic crucible buffs activated. And then 9 and 10 finishing things off with the mutants, non-mythic the non-mythic X-Men's, excuse me. I'm looking on the top and I read it wrong. But yes, anyway, sorry. So recap it, 8 to 10 is Cosmic Crucible activated. We are going to have X-Men non-mythics basically for the last 2 sections, which is kind of similar right now to the Storm Tower, right? Like the last few sections are kind of X-Men exclusive. So very similar. We're going to have to take advantage of those types of teams. And, of course, as well, shout out to Valley. He was the one that first announced the team compositions, so all the credit goes to him there. So you'll see a little bit of his, his bulging biceps during some of the screenshots. So thanks again, Valley. Least I can do is get your good side of your arm here on this. And, of course, as well, you'll see that floor 1 is basically a very, very straightforward section where basically – it's typical Avenger teams, right? They do look a little amped up here in the 3 diamonds, but nonetheless, I feel like very, very reasonable. And of course, as well, my take is I will be taking perhaps some of my raid-oriented characters, people that have already built up some of these raid-focused teams. We can use Vigilantes. Vigilantes is a good one, I feel like, because of the fact that they can strip all the positives, throw some stuns in there. Thunderbolts would be another good one, and of course as well the Insidious 6 would also be very, very good because with the heroes on the board, Vulture would get that increased speed, and then of course as well they can slowly tack these guys down. And again, I don't imagine floor 1 will be very, very exciting because of the fact that it is a very basic section here with just 6 enemies. Floor 2, it gets a little bit more interesting because they do have some members of the Liberty plus the Nowhere, the Nowhere crew. So 2 previous meta teams for war. They don't have the war buffs activated, but still nonetheless quite some synergy between these 2 sections. And of course as well, I don't know which wave drop is going to be which, but assuming maybe Cap Sam is part of the second wave, it should be very, very interesting. Of course Black Knight will be also annoying. So right here, this may be a better one to use Vigilantes on as well because of the fact that they can strip all the charges off of Black Knight. But nonetheless, hence why I have them there. And Thunderbolts may not be a bad choice either, or Immortal Weapons. I don't have Immortal Weapons here, but they could very well be a possible option here just because they have a lot of the early buffs and heals, and they can cancel out a lot of this damage early on. Floor 3, same thing. Again, we've got the old secret defenders team that was used to be the part of the previous arena meta. So this one, I would say, be a little cautious here. I would say if the other 3 raid teams don't work, we can maybe stick with a Daemon Brimstone comp that may perhaps help push against this team here. And of course, Daemon and Brimstone don't have the war buffs activated, but I feel like they would still be a very, very good choice because of the fact that they are a very, very strong team outside of war. And on top of that as well, Daemon's speed in itself should be faster than most of these characters, and he should be able to take the first turn and ability block and start causing havoc. Floor 4 is, in my opinion, I think probably the hardest one because they got the Nightcrawler and Apocalypse combo, and that makes sense because it is the last section before we get into the restrictions. And again, maybe you want to save Brimstone for this section, or maybe perhaps one of the other teams. And again, we're going to have to test around and see here. I don't know if there's going to be like a best team overall, but we will definitely get some testing for you guys on the Friday when it does go live here. But those are kind of the first 4 teams. And again, I think it's just good to mention here that before you think, oh, this is going to be really, really hard, this is going to be really tough sections with just raid teams. Well, guys, there's no restrictions, right? So that means we also have these big boys we can bring in. We can bring in Odin, we can bring in Mephisto, we can bring in Super Skrull. So any one of these 3 teams our characters can be used in any of the sections here. I wouldn't recommend using it on the first node because the first node is just Avengers and it's strictly very straightforward. Honestly, it looks like probably the easiest out of the bunch. And then we can slot in we can slot in Mephisto, Odin, or Super Skrull because we won't be able to use these guys later on here because of the non-mythic tags. So it would be a good time to take advantage of that now and use these guys here when we can.
Okay, so next section here is the 5 to 7 again, and recapping it, it's going to be a mix between the non-mythic cosmics and the non-mythic cosmic villains. All war buffs are going to be active here, guys. So what that means here is we're going to be able to take advantage of the fact that some characters, some teams are more war-oriented. And we already kind of touched on some of these teams here, but the first floor 5 does consist of a Astro plus Night Stalkers. So this is another good one where I feel like this would be a good chance here to utilize our own Astro. We could use our own Astro in conjunction with maybe perhaps Quasar. We've also got the Fantastic Four, which is a very good team even in war. So for sure, I would say balancing between these teams between floor 5 and floor 6. Floor 6 looks like it's got the Null, it's got the Hive Mind, it's got some of the other new Avenger teams. So it may potentially be maybe a little bit more harder difficulty because of the fact that the Null is reworked. But I think what I will be doing is I will probably most likely be using some sort of Astro Quasar combination, perhaps in the first floor, the floor 5, and then maybe floor 6 we can utilize Fantastic Four because they are so fast and they are going to be able to nuke out all these guys fairly quick here. We should be able to put maybe Human Torch, and maybe we slap in is Kahori Cosmic? I believe she's also, no, she's Mystic. Okay, well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out when it does go live, but it's probably going to be my go-to team here. And then, of course, as well, floor 7 utilizes in conjunction some of the Undying members. So there is quite a bit of the Undying members here, plus Ares, and of course as well Emma Frost. So this is also going to be very interesting to see here. And I think right now, based on what I'm seeing here, and in terms of like the speed reduction and all that other stuff, it's basically calling for some of the old teams. I think what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try to maybe do an Annihilators first to see if that works. And if Annihilators with Null does not work, then we will try with our Shadow Conclave, because that is kind of the go-to team right now for war-oriented buffs. And of course as well, the Cosmic Villains is basically calling it for these guys. So make sure you don't use Null, and make sure you don't use any of your Annihilators before you get to this section. Moving on, floors 8 to 10 is going to require mutants and X-Men, non-mythic X-Men. So as you guys can see here right now, your best bet is to use any of your mythics like Apocalypse, Phoenix Force, Xavier. That would be good for floor 8, because otherwise you won't be able to use them later on. So again, looking at cell 8, doesn't look too bad actually. I'm seeing Cabal with Super Skrull with Doom, and yeah, it doesn't look actually too bad, especially if, like I said, if you're using Apocalypse, if you're using Xavier, you should make some pretty short work of these guys. And now because of the fact that Super Skrull is there, it would probably be a very good idea to bring up the Phoenix Force to cancel a lot of that speed, especially because we have Cosmic Crucible buffs active, and the Cabal are also going to be very dangerous because of the Cosmic Crucible buffs. Cell 9 is going to be the first one of the X-Men non-mythics. And yeah, we have Sentry here with Daemon. So I've played against Daemon and Sentry teams before, and one of the best counters that I've used is Immortals. Immortal X-Men seems to work quite well against that Brimstone Sentry comp that I use, just because they spawn with the immunity and they can throw the stun and then they can spread it. But again, I don't know how it will look once it does go live. So it may be a combination between Immortals, or we may have to pivot to our Exalted. You guys have already seen some of my previous gameplay videos. If you guys haven't, we use Exalted with Old Man Logan, so hence why Old Man Logan is here. But if there is some speed mechanics as well, Sentry is going to block off some of that. So of course as well, it will be interesting to see this actually live. And perhaps maybe it's designed for new moons, but we don't have new moons, and we'll have to see if that's going to be the deal breaker. Floor 10 is the same situation here. it's going to be deciding between 9 and 10, which one's worse. This one doesn't look as bad, to be honest, because we don't have Sentry there. We do have Captain Britain to cancel the speed, but the Phoenix Force here isn't even complete. And they've got Quasar and Shadow King. But overall, I would say floor 9 seems to be the harder one. But nonetheless, I feel like, yeah, if you are able to get through this floor, maybe even perhaps using Immortals here would be fine, because I don't think the Phoenix Force is going to spawn first. It's going to be the first set, I think the first section with the Gambit and the Rogue and the Quasar, and then you can stun them off with the Immortals and then finish things off there. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes here. We'll have to pivot if we need to. And that's kind of it, guys. That's the first 10 floors. Again, just recapping it all. The first floor is going to have basically no restrictions. So take advantage of that fact, and we can use and focus some of our war teams, some of our Brimstones, our Vigilantes, our Insidious. Floor 5 and 6, we can kind of pivot between our Fantastic 3 plus Quasar. We can also use Astro here. Keep in mind, we want to save Emma and Shadow King for the later sections. So the Astro would be like Ancient One, Doctor Strange. So just make sure you're saving Shadow King and Emma, perhaps maybe for the mutant sections when you have the non-mythic mutants. And Emma Frost is also an X-Men, so she would also maybe perhaps be good in a different section here, depending on what it may call for. It just depends on the nodes. We'll have to see. We'll have to theory craft a little and see. 7 is going to be the Cosmic Villains. Again, we've already mentioned that we're going to use probably our Shadow Conclave or Annihilators with Null. 8 is going to be the Mutants, and we can use Mythics. So make sure you're able to use Apocalypse and Xavier here if you can, or Phoenix Force. Floor 9 and 10, again, trying to take advantage of the fact that we have 2 built-up Cosmic Crucible teams between the Immortal X-Men and, of course, the Exalted X-Men as well. And there is the new Mutants, but we don't have them built up. So I'm hoping that we don't need to use them. And if we do, well, I'm going to have to suck it up, I guess. But hopefully that makes sense, guys. That is it for the first week. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of these teams. Let me know if there's teams that you guys are going to be using that are differently. Other than that, guys, hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day. And let's get ourselves amped up and ready to go here for the Fear Tower. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.